right, keep it warm in. Bonjour tout le monde. Hi, everybody. My name is Joel Harden. I'm the candidate for the NDP here in Ottawa Centre. And, and I just am very, very thankful to be here with Jagmeet in this space. This is a community hub for food security and bringing neighbors together. We're in Minawasini, which is Anishinaabe for Good Eats. And this is a space curated lovingly by our friends at the Parkdale Food Centre. So I want a big shout out to you. Thank you for hosting us. I also want to introduce the leader of the NDP, someone who has fought at the House of Commons for years for Canadians to get food security and the dignity and the support they need. I want to hand the mic to Jagmeet Singh.
Thanks so much, Phil. Thanks so much. First of all, thanks, Joel, for the introduction, and thank you for being our candidate in Ottawa Centre. We need to make sure Ottawa Centre has a voice that's going to fight for them, and that's Joel Harden. And a big thank you to the Parkdale Food Centre for the tour today and for the work that you do. You really give people dignity and respect, and it's a huge thing. And the reason why it's so important for us to be here at a food centre talking about food is because a lot of Canadians are worried about how much it costs them when they go to the grocery stores. With all of the threat of Donald Trump and the threats of tariffs, one of the things that's on people's minds is the fact that food is already so expensive. Will these trade wars and these tariffs mean that my food prices are going to go up even higher? And that leaves people really worried. When you go into the grocery store again and again and see prices going up higher and higher, you're always feeling like I'm not going to be able to afford the things that my family needs, that I need. And folks are putting back items on the shelf because it's just too expensive. And it wasn't that way before. And I know there's a lot of worry associated with that. And I want folks to know I see you and we hear you. And that's why today we want to announce a plan to deal with that. We know that people are dealing with high food prices because corporate grocery stores are ripping you up and we know that people are struggling with the high cost of groceries because corporate grocery stores are ripping you off and driving up the cost of food. And so today I'm announcing our plan that we would impose an emergency cap on food prices to stop them from ripping you off. We want to fight back and defend Canadians. Canadians believe in taking care of each other, having each other's backs. New Democrats have your back. We know that these corporate grocery stores have ripped us off. They've jacked up the price of bread. They also most recently were found jacking up the price of meat, using the weight of the packaging in addition to the weight of the meat, which is wrong. And they've been doing that systemically. So we know they've been ripping us off and we have to fight back. But what about the other parties? What would Mark Carney do? Well, Mark Carney has shown you that he's not in it for you. When he became Prime Minister, the first thing that he did was a tax cut for millionaires. And when asked about relief for people, he thought that GST relief was a bad idea. It shows you his values. Tax cut for millionaires, no problem. Relief for working class folks, for middle class folks, no, not a good idea. And what about Pierre Poilievre? Well, we've got a track record that he has consistently voted against any step that we push forward to actually take on the greed of corporate grocery stores that are ripping you off. He voted against a price cap. He voted against measures to hold them accountable. And we know why. Because his executive, the body that governs the Conservative Party, is made up of lobbyists, and prominent of those lobbyists are corporate grocery store lobbyists. So he's not going to take them on. He's not going to stop them. So when you are wondering how you're going to afford your groceries, and you're wondering who's going to stand up for me and my family so I can afford my groceries, that's us. That's New Democrats. And if you're also worried at a time when there's so much uncertainty with Donald Trump, who's going to fight for me and my family when it comes to the negotiations that happen? We know that for the other parties, working folks, everyday families are not the priority. For us, whenever there's any negotiation, we're going to fight back to say that people, workers, they should not be on that table. Our health care, the things that we hold dear, the things that we value, should not be on that negotiating table. Our pensions, the services that we have for people will not be on that negotiating table if you elect a New Democrat. So if you're in this election wondering who's going to fight for you, that's New Democrats. Here in Ottawa Centre, that's Joel Harden. And across this country, it's New Democrats who are going to fight for you. On est ici à Parkdale Food Centre, donc je veux remercier toute l'équipe de Parkdale Food Centre pour le travail qu'ils font. Je veux remercier aussi notre candidat ici à Ottawa Centre, Joel Harden, pour le fait qu'il est notre candidat. Et si vous voulez quelqu'un qui va se battre pour vous, à Ottawa Centre, ça c'est Joel Harden. Et on est ici dans ce centre pour discuter les prix d'épicerie. Et je sais que pour plusieurs personnes, malgré toute la menace de Donald Trump et la guerre commerciale, l'enjeu clé, l'enjeu primordial, c'est le coût de la vie. Et parmi ces enjeux, c'est le coût d'épicerie. Je sais que pour plusieurs personnes, faire épicerie, c'est maintenant une grande inquiétude. On a peur qu'on ne peut pas faire l'épicerie et acheter les nourritures dont on a besoin. Et on sait la raison pour laquelle on se retrouve dans cette situation, c'est parce que les grandes entreprises d'épicerie arnaquent les gens. Et je suis tanné des grandes entreprises qui vous arnaquent. Donc aujourd'hui, j'annonce mon plan. La raison pour laquelle vous êtes dans une situation difficile quand vous faites l'épicerie, c'est parce que les grandes entreprises d'épicerie vous arnaquent. Donc aujourd'hui, notre annonce, c'est on va mettre en place un plafond sur les prix des essentiels. Ça veut dire qu'on va arrêter ces grandes entreprises de continuer de vous exploiter. En faisant ça, on va réduire l'impact de ces entreprises sur votre vie. On va protéger les gens. On pense qu'il y a une valeur importante pour nous, comme des néo-démocrates et pour les Canadiens, c'est on prend soin les uns des autres et c'est exactement ce qu'on fait avec cette annonce. Et c'est quoi l'approche des autres partis? Mark Carney a déjà montré que pour lui, il favorise les millionnaires par vous et votre famille. Elle a proposé, elle a fait effectivement, une des premières choses qu'elle a fait après il est devenu Premier ministre, c'est de couper les impôts pour les millionnaires. Et quand les gens ont demandé son opinion sur enlever les TPS sur les choses essentielles, il a dit que c'était une mauvaise idée. Donc pour lui, c'est une mauvaise idée de donner un coup de main à la classe ouvrière, à la classe moyenne. C'est une bonne idée de donner un cadeau aux millionnaires. Ça montre ses valeurs. Il n'est pas là pour vous. Et Pierre Poilievre a résisté, à s'opposer chaque pas qu'on a pris contre les grandes entreprises d'épicerie qui vous arnaquent. Elle a voté contre notre projet de loi sur un plafond des prix des épiceries essentielles. Elle a voté contre des mesures pour rendre compte ces grandes entreprises. Parce que dans son équipe, c'est plein de lobbyistes pour les grandes entreprises. Donc, il se bat pour eux, pas pour vous, pas pour votre famille. Donc, dans ces temps difficiles, si vous voulez quelqu'un qui va vraiment se battre pour vous, pour réduire le coût de la vie, ça, c'est les néo-démocrates. Et particulièrement avec la menace de Donald Trump et les négociations, si vous posez la question, qui va être là pour défendre vos valeurs, défendre vos familles, défendre vos pensions, les soins de santé, dans ces négociations, c'est nous, l'NPD. Donc, si vous voulez quelqu'un qui va se battre pour vous, votez pour l'NPD. Merci beaucoup, and with that, I'm ready for any questions you might have.
Merci beaucoup. On va passer maintenant à la période de questions des médias. We will now take the media questions. It's going to be one question, one follow-up. Ça va être une question et une relance. On va commencer avec Juliane Lapointe, Radio-Canada.
Bonjour, M. Singh. Première question pour vous. Mark Carney croit que le gouvernement fédéral devrait intervenir si la loi 96 est entendue par la Cour suprême. J'aimerais vous entendre là-dessus. Vous en pensez quoi?
Avec ces lois, c'est une loi qui protège la langue française. On pense que c'est important de protéger la langue française au Québec. Donc, on n'interviendra pas à ce moment. Il y a une raison pour le faire. C'est un enjeu au Québec et c'est une protection des langues, de la langue française au Québec.
Donc, juste, le gouvernement fédéral ne doit pas intervenir. Donc, vous croyez?
Oui, donc notre position, il n'y a pas une raison pour intervenir.
Parfait. Vous avez beaucoup parlé cette semaine de logement, d'épicerie. On comprend que c'est en réaction aux tarifs, votre message en réaction aux tarifs. Votre message pour freiner les tarifs, qu'est-ce qu'il en est? Est-ce que vous avez ce qu'il faut pour vous asseoir avec Donald Trump et pour lui tenir tête et avoir un message assez fort pour lui montrer que le Canada n'en veut pas de tarifs et qu'on n'est pas simplement dans la réaction?
Oui, on peut. Oui, j'ai la capacité de faire ça. Tu as raison. Parce que c'est une question de pour qui je me bats. Si vous pensez, vous avez peur pour votre emploi, vous êtes dans la classe moyenne, vous êtes la classe ouvrière, vous avez peur pour votre famille, pour votre vie, que la vie va rendre plus difficile, le coût de la vie va augmenter. On est là pour vous. On n'est pas là pour défendre les milliardaires, les grandes entreprises, on est là pour défendre vos intérêts. Donc, dans une négociation, dans des conversations avec Donald Trump, pour moi, la différence est je suis là pour défendre vos intérêts. Ça, c'est ma priorité et j'ai montré ça à plusieurs reprises. Mais avec n'importe qui, et maintenant, c'est Mark Carney qui parle avec Donald Trump, je suis sur l'équipe Canada. Je veux qu'on réussisse. Je veux qu'on gagne pour les travailleurs, on enlève les tarifs. Mais c'est important aussi de parler des impacts des tarifs. Ça, c'est pourquoi je parle du coût de la vie, parce que la grande peur des gens, c'est avec les tarifs, ça va augmenter ma coût de la vie. Et c'est déjà trop élevé. Ça, c'est pourquoi on parle du logement. Ça, c'est pourquoi on parle des épiceries, parce que ce sont les deux enjeux clés quand on parle avec les gens. Quand ils parlent de la coût de la vie, ils parlent de c'est impossible de faire d'épicerie, c'est impossible de trouver du logement abordable. Donc ça, c'est pourquoi on parle de ces enjeux.
Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, of course, I've got what it takes to stand up to Donald Trump. I know what it takes to stand up to a bully. I've fought back against bullies my whole life. And most importantly, though, if you're someone that's worried about how the tariffs are going to impact you and your family, how they're going to impact working people, how they're going to impact the cost of living for working folks, New Democrats have shown you, I have shown you, I'm committed to fighting for you. I'm not interested in defending the profits of billionaires or CEOs of big corporations. I'm interested in how we can defend working folks. And so in those negotiations, that's my priority. But right now, well, Mark Carney is the person that was chosen as Prime Minister. He's the one that's having these discussions. I'm on Team Canada. I want us to win. I want us to be able to remove these tariffs. I want Canadians to have peace of mind. And so I'm on Team Canada to fight back. But the difference between me and the other leaders is that I'm focused on you in a way that no one else can say they are. And the reason why we've been talking about housing and groceries is because one of the big worries that people have around the trade war, around the tariff threats, is that it's going to make life, which is already so expensive, even more expensive. And so that's why we've talked about solutions to make homes more affordable by by banning big corporations from buying up the affordable homes. That's why today we're talking about how to make groceries more affordable by putting in a price cap on food essentials. These are bold plans to put people first and to make life more affordable.
Thank you. Now, David Turton, CBC.
Hi, Mr. Singh. Good morning. We're a week into this campaign, and you've laid out very clearly your policy priorities when it comes to supporting workers in the face of tariffs, support for renters, and now grocery prices. But I'm wondering if you could today tell us what success looks like politically in your campaign. I know you're probably going to give me a policy answer, but I'm really looking for what does success look like for you politically? Are you still running to be Prime Minister?
Absolutely. I want folks to know they've got a real choice in this election. That if you want someone that's going to fight for you, that's us. If you want someone that's going to take on corporate greed in the grocery stores, take on corporate landlords, that's us. If you want someone that's got a real plan to make life more affordable, that's New Democrats. And I've shown you what we can do when we are fighting for you in Ottawa. We deliver dental care, pharmacare, protections for workers, real changes in your lives. Imagine what could happen if you elect more of us. I want folks to have someone fighting for them. I want the folks of Ottawa Centre to have Joel Harden fighting for them. I know that you are going to be better off, you're going to be better served if a New Democrat is fighting for you. So I'm running to become Prime Minister because I want a Prime Minister that actually fights for working class folks, that fights for everyday families, that fights for the middle class every single day in office. And that's going to be me and my team. Absolument, je me présente pour devenir le Premier ministre parce que je sais c'est quoi le bénéfice d'avoir un néo-démocrate qui se bat pour vous. J'ai vu ça pendant les dernières années, le fait qu'avec seulement 25 députés, on aurait pu livrer la science médicaments. Et maintenant, 3 provinces ont reçu les médicaments gratuits pour les contraceptifs, médicaments pour les diabètes gratuits et les appareils gratuits grâce à nos efforts. On a mis en œuvre des protections pour les travailleurs. On a mis en œuvre des soins dentaires qui ont soigné des millions de personnes à travers ce pays. Donc, j'ai vu l'impact d'avoir des néo-démocrates à Ottawa. Donc, je pense pour tout le monde, vous méritez d'avoir quelqu'un qui se bat pour vous. Vous méritez d'avoir un député néo-démocrate. Donc, ici à Ottawa Centre, vous méritez d'avoir un député comme Joel Harden qui va se battre pour vous. Donc, absolument, Je pense que les Canadiens méritent d'avoir un premier ministre qui va se battre pour les gens, pas pour les milliardaires chaque jour.
Okay, just my second question here, Mr. Singh. A lot of Canadians don't see you as being the next prime minister. They see this as a race between the Conservatives and the Liberals. What do you want to tell those voters? What is your message to them, especially maybe voters who might not want to see another majority government, whether it's Conservative, whether it's Liberal? What's your message to those voters, especially those voters who maybe are concerned about a potential Conservative government, maybe voters in a riding like Ottawa Centre?
Vote New Democrat. That's my message to you. Vote New Democrat. And you are better off when you vote New Democrat. And we can show you. You sent 25 of us to Ottawa. I'm honored by that. I thank you for that. And what did you get in return? Millions of people got dental care. Millions of people are going to have their medication covered. Millions of people's lives are going to be concretely better off because you voted for New Democrats. So I would say if you want someone there in Ottawa fighting for you, that's only going to fight for you and your family, that's got a clear sense of convictions around who they're in it for, that's us. That's New Democrats. So wherever you live, if you want someone that's going to fight for you, truly fight for you, send a New Democrat to fight for you and see the difference it's going to make in your life and the life of Canadians. We have seen that already. I encourage you to do that again.
Doria Isri, Global News.
Hi, Mr. Singh. Mr. Carney, after his phone call with Trump, said Canada would negotiate a new security and economic agreement after the election. Do you think it's appropriate for Mr. Carney to be making post-election plans?
Well, again, when it comes to, and I've said this a couple times, when it comes to fighting back against Donald Trump, I'm on a Team Canada approach. I want us to be united, that no matter what the makeup of Parliament, we all should stand together to fight back against Donald Trump in a united way. And whatever the results are, Donald Trump should know that all Canadian leaders want us to be free and independent and proud of who we are, and that we're ready to fight back. I am concerned, though, that Donald Trump negotiated the last agreement himself, signed it, and now is ignoring it. And I think it shows you that we've got to actually take a different approach to Donald Trump. We have to show strength. We should say, listen, there's no reason to renegotiate something when the date of expiry isn't for another year. And so I would think we've got to show strength, we've got to fight back, and that's what New Democrats are proposing.
Mr. Poilievre headed to British Columbia before you did. I know you're heading there later, but you're facing more competition from both the Conservatives and the Liberals in your home province. What is your strategy to deal with that?
Again, just to let Canadians know what's at stake in this election. We've got a very important election, probably one of the most important in our lives. And we got real serious challenges up against Canadians, up against our country. And in those challenges, I ask you, who do you really want there in Ottawa fighting for you? Do you want someone that has shown you that their priority is millionaires, not working class folks, not everyday folks? That's Mark Carney. He's shown that with his tax cuts for millionaires and said that GST relief was a bad idea. Do you want someone like Pierre Poilievre, who will cut the things that you hold dear, and it'll cost you more? He wants to cut healthcare, cut pensions, cut the things that you need. It's going to cost you more, all to give big tax breaks to his billionaire buddies. Or do you want New Democrats? Folks are going to fight for you and your family, fight to defend our healthcare and make it stronger, make it better, fight to defend our pensions and make them better, fight to bring down the cost of groceries, like we're talking about today with the price cap. I think the choice is clear. New Democrats have your back. If you want someone that's got your back, vote for a New Democrat.
Rachel Ayello, CTV.
Good morning, Mr. Singh. Today, the Conservatives are going after workers' votes again with tax breaks for traveling workers and ending tax write-offs on luxury jets. They continue to have support from unions. Just wondering, what can you do to punch through to those worker votes that once were pretty solidly orange and now might be tempted by some of Poilievre's proposals?
I want folks to remember who Poilievre is. He has spent his career, since he's a career politician, fighting for the billionaires. That is what he has done. He voted against federal minimum wage increases, not once, but multiple times. He voted against workers being able to fight for fair wages multiple times. He ordered workers back to work multiple times. He's undermined the rights of workers. He's undermined the rights of unions again and again. When he got first elected, which was a long time ago as a career politician, he said very proudly that he was the first federally elected MP to push for right-to-work laws in Canada. And we all know right-to-work laws are anti-union, anti-worker laws that are in many of the red states in the United States. He has made it his career to fight against unions and working people. He is no friend of yours. And I would say to you, when you're in a fight is when you know you've got a real friend. When workers were in a fight, when they were on the picket lines, who showed up? Did Pierre Poilievre ever show up to a picket line? No. He's never going to show up to a picket line because that's not who he is. But when workers were in a fight and workers were on one side and big bosses were on the other side, New Democrats showed up, I showed up. Oui, bien sûr. Donc, Pierre Poilievre a montré avec toute sa carrière qu'il est quelqu'un qui s'est battu contre les droits des travailleurs et des syndicats et pour les droits des grandes entreprises. Il a toute une carrière, il y a une longue carrière parce que c'est presque tout ce qu'elle a fait, et il a montré ses valeurs. Il a voté contre un salaire minimum au niveau fédéral. Il a voté contre les droits des travailleurs de se battre contre les grandes entreprises. Il a vanté qu'il était le premier député pour amener les lois, comme les lois aux États-Unis, qui sont contre les syndicats au Canada. Donc, toute sa carrière, c'était contre les travailleurs. Toute sa carrière était contre les travailleurs. Il n'est pas quelqu'un qui est de votre bord. Et finalement, vous savez vos vrais amis quand vous êtes dans une lutte. Et chaque fois que les travailleurs étaient en grève, ces dernières années, c'était les néo-démocrates. C'était moi comme chef qui était là avec les travailleurs. Et Pierre Poilievre n'a jamais rencontré les travailleurs dans une grève parce qu'il n'est pas vraiment votre ami.
And you're heading to British Columbia later this afternoon. Your party currently holds half of its seats in that province, but some polls are suggesting support there might be cratering for the NDP. So what is your strategy heading into BC this week to try to win back BC voters?
We're going to let BC voters know how important this election is and how important the choices in front of them. And really the question that I want folks to think about is, who is in it for you? Who is making decisions in your best interest every single day? We've shown you again and again, Mark Carney has a career of making lots of money for big corporations, but at the cost of everyday folks. When he was at Brookfield, they made a strategic decision as a company that they were going to find affordable rentals. And they said, you know what, if people are only paying $1,000 a month rental, we could jack that up to triple that. We can make way more money off them. So they targeted affordable homes, affordable buildings, bought them, and jacked up rent as a strategic decision. Now that's the guy who wants to run as prime minister saying that he's going to fix the housing crisis. It's not believable. The person that contributed to the problem can't now somehow fix the problem. Pierre Poilievre is going to cut the things you need. We know what Conservatives do. They cut, and it costs you, and they do that just to give more tax breaks to their billionaire buddies. And so for New Democrats, our commitment is you. We want to strengthen healthcare, make sure you can find a family doctor. We want to strengthen pensions. We're going to bring down the price of groceries by bringing in an emergency price cap. We want to lower the cost of homes. We have got your back.
Mark Ramsey.
Oui. Le message est simple, Colombie-Britannique. C'est une élection tellement importante. Et donc, vous avez un choix dans cette élection. Mark Carney, les libéraux, qui se bat pour l'ancienne entreprise de Mark Carney, des géants immobiliers qui arnaquent les gens. Pierre Poilievre qui va couper les services dont vous avez besoin pour donner des gros cadeaux aux ses amis milliardaires, ou l'NPD qui se bat pour vous. La question est simple, qui est de votre bord? Et la réponse est aussi simple, c'est l'NPD.
Mark Ramsey, Toronto Star.
Good morning, Mr. Singh and Mr. Harden. Pierre Poilievre disclosed his investments this week, and they include ETFs that have shares of Brookfield in them. Given that both of you have criticized Mark Carney's record with Brookfield and Brookfield's corporate practices, can you say definitively that you are not invested in Brookfield in any way?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I have complied with all the rules as a member of parliament. All my disclosures are public. The problem is Mark Carney has not disclosed his interests. And the problem with that is that he's using a loophole, the fact that he's not right now a member of parliament. All members of parliament have to disclose their interests. And someone that's running for prime minister, you would think, would also disclose his interest so people can see, does he have ongoing interest in Brookfield or not? I'm also putting forward clear approaches that would attack Brookfield's way of making money. So my interest is in you and your families. I'm proposing a ban on large corporations like Brookfield buying up affordable homes. My question is, would Mark Carney support something like that? And I think he wouldn't, because that's not his values. And he also worked for this company just a couple months ago. And he hasn't disclosed his interests. And it's impacting the decisions he might make, and Canadians ought to know.
I'll clarify that your investments are not public because we're in an election right now, but I'll ask your office for those. But my second question is, since Justin Trudeau left, polls now show that you're the least popular leader. Do you think NDP candidates in close ridings are better off campaigning on their own local accomplishments and brand than on the party's national brand, which includes yourself?
I think folks should campaign on both. I want folks to show what they've done for their community. I want folks to be proud of their track record of fighting for their communities. And I want folks to point out that New Democrats have delivered for Canadians, that we have delivered concrete things that have made their lives better. I want people to know that New Democrats fought for and delivered dental care, that we fought for and delivered pharmacare, that we fought for and delivered anti-SCAB legislation. These are things that New Democrats delivered, that I delivered as leader and we delivered as a team, that people should know about. And so when we say we're going to cap the price of groceries, believe us, we've delivered before. When I say I'm going to ban corporations from buying up affordable homes, believe us, because we've delivered. We are committed to you, and we've shown you that we can fight for you with our track record.
Merci beaucoup. Prochaine question, Lise Denis, le droit.
Oui, bonjour.
Oui, bonjour.
Pendant cette campagne, vous insistez beaucoup sur les gains que vous avez faits pour l'assurance dentaire, l'accès aux médicaments. Est-ce qu'après les élections, vous seriez prêt à vous rallier aux libéraux, advenant une victoire, pour faire passer de nouveaux programmes comme ça?
Donc, je me présente comme un premier ministre, donc ça, c'est mon but. Donc, je ne veux pas discuter des potentiels quand je me présente pour devenir premier ministre. Mais je peux dire clairement que n'importe quoi, les résultats ou les nombres des sièges, une partie néo-démocrate avec un chef comme moi, on ne va jamais appuyer un premier ministre Pierre Poilievre. And so I'm presenting myself as a prime minister. I'm running to become prime minister, and I don't want to presuppose the outcome of the election. But I can tell you one thing very clearly, that New Democrats, myself as leader, will never support Pierre Poilievre as prime minister. That will never happen.
Puis sinon, les libéraux ne semblent pas faire de plateforme pour le Québec. Est-ce que vous avez une réaction par rapport à ça?
On va présenter notre plateforme pour le Québec comme on fait dans chaque élection. Et pour les Québécois, vous devez savoir qu'on est là pour vous. On a montré comment on réussit à livrer la marchandise pour vous. Et les soins dentaires, c'est un exemple de quelque chose qui aide le Québec. Ce qui est décevant, c'est le fait que le Bloc se présente comme des défendeurs de Québec, mais ils ont fait le contraire. Ils ont voté contre les mesures comme les soins dentaires, malgré le fait que ça aide les Québécois. Blanchet s'est prononcé qu'il va appuyer un premier ministre Pierre Poilievre. Je dis que jamais, malgré le fait que Pierre Poilievre va couper les choses qui sont chères aux Québécois et Québécoises. Donc, dans mon avis, Blanchet présente des valeurs qui ne ressemblent pas aux Québécois et Québécoises. Le fait qu'il a voté contre des mesures qui aident les Québécois et le fait qu'il va appuyer quelqu'un comme Pierre Poilievre qui va couper les valeurs et les programmes qui sont chers aux Québécois.
Next question, last question, David Bixter, Canadian Press.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Singh, Mr. Harden. I just want to talk to me about the policy this morning. We've seen before when the government tries to negotiate deals with companies, mostly looking at Meta and the Online News Act right now. Companies will say, this isn't economical for us, they'll take it away. If they're looking at price caps for groceries right now, I see you've got some oranges in the basket there. What happens in a situation where we see we negotiate price caps for, let's just use oranges as an example. We outgrow them in Canada. A company says it's not economical for us to have oranges anymore. They stop stocking oranges. What would you do in that situation?
Well, we've got actually a couple of other countries that have figured this out. So we would look at what France has done and what Greece has done. Both of them have effectively brought in price controls. And those price controls, in the example of France, has dropped food inflation by 15%. In the case of Greece, they were able to drop food prices by 15%. So we've seen price controls work effectively in other countries. We would use that example. And we would also focus on the items that would have the best impact on people's food purchases. So we look at items that are made in Canada or items that the grocers have their own labels, where they put their own label on top of it and they control the prices of it. There are ways to achieve the outcomes that we want. Other countries have done it. There's other sectors where price controls have brought down prices. We are seeing more and more in the case of corporate grocery stores, when they colluded to jack up the price of our bread, when they colluded to jack up the price of meat, they are ripping us off. And so corporate grocery stores need someone that's going to fight back and defend you and your family, not allow them to continue to rip you off. And that's what our price cap's about, fighting back to protect you and your family.
Yeah, I just want to go back to the start of the week for a second question. Were you campaigning on the idea of using federally owned land to build affordable housing? Excuse me. There's been some concern in the First Nations communities about what this could potentially mean for crown land, and taking away land that they do have treaty rights to use to make way for housing that would no longer be available to them. How do you square that affordability pitch with the government of Canada's treaty obligations?
Well, I think we always have to respect our treaty obligations. We're talking about land that is already in federal hands that's not being sold off. The question around land back, or the question about Indigenous communities having the first right of refusal, often involves when lands are being sold off. This is land that we want to keep in federal government's hand and keep it affordable. Unlike the plans of the Liberals and the Conservatives, who are both proposing to sell off Crown land and sell it to basically the highest bidder. And in the case of the Liberals, they want most of it to be unaffordable. And in the case of the Conservatives, they want all of it to be marketed and unaffordable. Our plan is that we keep the land, that it remains owned by the public, and that 100% of the homes built on it are affordable. That's a very different plan and different approach, one that continues to respect treaty rights, which we think is fundamental in the way we move forward as a nation.
Thank you very much. That concludes the press conference. Merci beaucoup. Ceci conclut la conférence de presse. Bonne journée.
Merci, thank you.